Whether you're ordering wings for the game, whipping up a 7-layer dip, or ordering pizza, there's something about football that makes you want to eat. And this football season, Uber Eats has the best deals on game day food. No matter what you're craving, from 2-for-1 pizza to buy one, get one wings, Uber Eats will be dropping new deals each week, all season long. Uber Eats, official on-demand delivery partner of the NFL. Order now. Terms and conditions apply. See app for details.
This episode is brought to you by Allstate. Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like you know to check the date of the big game first before you accidentally buy tickets on your 20th wedding anniversary and have to spend the next 20 years of your marriage making up for it. Yeah, checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate. Savings vary. Terms apply. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Northbrook, Illinois.
This episode is brought to you by Unstoppable. Discover the inspiring true story about Anthony Robles, who defied every expectation to become a national wrestling champion in Unstoppable, a new original movie from Amazon MGM Studios and director William Goldenberg, evoking the excitement and camaraderie of classic sports dramas and thrilling wrestling matches. Unstoppable features an all-star ensemble cast, including Jarrell Jerome, Jennifer Lopez, Don Cheadle, Michael Pena, and Bobby Cannavale. Watch Unstoppable now, exclusively on Amazon Prime Video.
Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our Quick Publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the latest Anfield Index Under Pressure podcast. My name's Dan Kennett, and with me to discuss the Reds marching on at the top of the Premier League table, I have got the full team. First of all, back in the tropics, it's Dr. Phil Barter. Evening, Phil.
How are we doing, boys? You all right?
I'm doing very well, mate. How are you?
I'm good. Hot, but all good.
Yeah. But proper tropical weather. You sent some photos of extremely torrential rain the other day, so it's not all.
It's not all sun, but it's warm rain, which I can't get my head around. But yeah, there you go.
Okay, so it's like taking a shower or something. Anyway, nice.
Yeah.
Anyway, we have from the Times of London, we have the boy wonder, Mr. Hamzah Khalique Loonat. Evening, Hamzah.
Evening, everyone. It was lovely to listen to Rosie last week, actually. Reminds her about how I should do the font from the master. Good to be on, as always.
And where were you this weekend? Where did the Times of London send you this weekend, Hamzah?
I was at the Emirates. I was watching the match via a stream. A colleague from a different organisation was doing the live blog, so they had access to all the streams. So a legal stream. So I was watching it with them.
Would love it if Premier League clubs themselves had illegal streams. That would be quite something in their premises. Yeah. And what was your thoughts on Arsenal Aston Villa, Hamzah?
Interesting for a few reasons. Principally that Arsenal are actually quite good, but they don't take enough risks. They don't play through the middle, which is a shame for them. They dominate matches, but don't actually turn their EPV into XG. That's their big key at the moment.
Topical. Yeah.
They have a few injuries as well, but as far as I can see, as long as Liverpool keep extending the gap over them, this gap looks all right at the moment. Just keep an eye on City, even though if they win all 16 of their matches, they probably push 86 points or like that. But as in, they might actually get half decent again, so we've got to play them next month.
Well, just remember what we did in the 22-23 season. We still finished. We dropped outside the Champions League places, but in the COVID season, we still finished fourth after Alisson's heroics as well. So, good teams will have wobbles, but ultimately they will recover to decent levels.
We have that tactical tweak in 22-23. Trent moved in field, and we didn't lose in the last 10 or so matches. Drew 2. So
So you were at the Emirates, right? And I don't know if do you ever listen to any fans, podcasts done by other club fan groups, Hamzah? Because there's an Arsenal one called Handbrake Off. And it's hosted by Arsenal comedian Ian Stone, and he has some other famous Arsenal fans on it as well. Quite entertaining. He's quite a funny guy, really. But I just thought it was quite ironic, really, because the Handbrake Off was a homage to probably a time before you can even remember when Arsene Wenger was managing Arsenal, Hamzah. Before you were born, probably. But it was a period where they were saying Wenger always made Arsenal play with the handbrake on. And he had to, they had to release it to sort of unleash the team's potential. Sounds like you're very much saying the same thing about Arteta.
Yeah, and it comes back to that thing that we discussed about Liverpool. Remember the XG difference and the XG ratios. If you have the potential to actually increase your attacking output, so you've got to have the potential in the first place. Then you've got to sort of move the slider slightly. So you're willing to accept a bit more risk, maybe on the breaks, being a bit more open, that sort of stuff. But yeah, it's the how much XGA are you willing to accept, or are you able to first, and then willing to accept in relation to the XG that you're able to and willing to increase it by, and extending that ratio as much as possible. The key difference between us and Arsenal actually is if you look at the XG difference in matches, we have more in the 1.1 to 2 range XG difference per match, and even in the 3+ range.
Wow.
They have a lot of matches that are just in that 1 XG difference, which means that sometimes, even if you are the better team by an XG difference of 1, you can be on the wrong end of variance. So we're better at using our attack to really take advantage of that. And you look at the attack very quickly. The attacking numbers since November have really shot up.
Yeah.
Paul Joyce has done a piece which people will be able to read tomorrow, I think, and he's spoken about the difference between pre-November and post-November. I think we're seeing a slightly different idea of our idea of what slot ball might have been slightly wrong. I think it is closer to club football. It just took Slot to slow the game down before he accelerated it.
Nice, and it's very interesting to see that Arsenal's solution to their handbrake on problems is to sign another defensive midfielder in the summer with Martin Zubimendi. So the dream of fielding an entire team of centre-backs and defensive midfielders lives on. Arteta dream. We might see it at some point. Yes. Anyway, he's sitting there looking bored. You can see the look on his face already. It's Mr. Simon Brundish. You don't want to talk about Arsenal, do you, Si? You want to talk about the mighty Reds?
I love talking about whiny Arsenal fans. It feels to me like the only big difference. I don't have the same issues with Twitter as most people. The only big difference to my Twitter timeline now, as compared to any time before, is an insane volume of lunatic Arsenal fans. That's it. So I'm happy to talk about those dickheads.
Can you just block them all? Or does block actually work these days? I don't know.
It doesn't. It just doesn't, and they're all absolute lunatics. I counted 7 different versions of the same tweet about a handball for a penalty. It was so a handball.
Zakruda, the stills images
had more than 10,000 likes. Absolute lunacy.
It's a conspiracy site.
It's always a conspiracy. They're the most injured team in history.
Yeah.
But what I do like about them, I don't know if you guys think, I like their faith in their manager. They've in the way that they've copied, trying desperately to copy a plastic anthem to be like the Reds. They've also tried to copy the fans in the way they've created their own Messiah.
Yeah.
But they're like the people's front of Judea or something.
Yeah.
That's an old fella reference.
Yeah, Judean people's front.
Yeah.
Exactly. Right. Okay. Life of Brian. For those who wanted to see it, worthwhile watching for anybody who is easily offended. Right. Anyway. Right. So. We are here. Well, Si's had a marvellous idea, is that what we're going to do is, because this is basically the same game playing twice, we're not going to go through the specifics of each match, the Forest game and the Brentford game. We are going to talk about them both in the round and the patterns and the similarities across the two games. And obviously with a very different outcome, and we'll talk about maybe the process and the outcome and stuff. But we are going to start though, as always, with those match summaries. So, Bart, I'm going to ask you to do them back to back. How excited? Go.
Yeah.
So, should we go with Forest first?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds as logical as that is the first game, but yeah, 62% possession to their 38, touches 760 to their 461, penalty box touches 52 to their 17. I'm sure Si will be able to tell me whether that's a record or not. Field tilt 75%, plays 25, which is quite a standing team. We're away from home. Total shots 23-6. On target is 6 versus 3. We've got big chances 4-1 in our favour. XG, a little bit of slight difference on the models, but generally I've got 1.93 versus 0.4 for them. Post shot 192 versus just over the 1 for them. The trend of us not converting a lot of threat to XG continued this game, so 52% conversion for us and 47 for them. And then I added in the old favourite for you, Dolph, which was PPDO, and ours was at 840 for this game and 1160 for them. So that's your sort of top line stuff. In terms of Monte Carlos, we were 76% to win the game, and the score we should have got 19% at the time in 10,000 would have been 2-0. So that is your top level summary.
And the question you had was what a record? Penalty box touches?
Yeah, penalty box touches away from home, 52 for the away side.
Sounds like a large number. I remember
a large number.
In the COVID season, when our really terrible run first started, there was a game at Southampton, and I think we had 527 touches in the box that game without scoring. But yeah, that the black one does ring the bell. That was around 50 odd, I'm sure that was. But yeah,
right.
But it's going to be close.
I number.
Yeah, it's going to be close.
So we go to the almost a very similar game, should we say? Brentford away. So we have slightly less possession, 56 versus their 44. Touches 780 versus 532 for them. Penalty box touches in this game, I've got a 64 versus 24 for them. 37 shots to their 11. 8 shots on target to their 6 on target. Big chances, 4 versus 1 again. This time, 2 goals to their 0. XG, 3.4 to us and 0.72 for them. EPV conversion, still not particularly great. We only got up to 88%, which I think is 10% improvement on the Forest game, and we kept their correct up to 55%. So PPDO 750 for them and 1250 for us, so better in this game, which comes down to probably the goals. Monte Carlo wise, we pushed up to an 89% to win the game, and the top score would have been 3-0 to us. So in both instances, on the balance of the quality of the XG chances, we should have won. The Brentford, we should have won by more goals, and we had a high probability of about 10%.
In the Brentford game, how many shots on target did you say for Brentford?
I had 8 versus 6.
So they had 8 shots on target.
They had 6, we had 8.
They had 6, and this is just to loop back on something we talked extensively on in the previous weeks, and obviously 0 goals conceded. But and then so that's Alisson's made 6 saves there, and I think what I just wanted to say was there was a couple of those which could have easily, those shots that Brentford had could have easily taken a nick off somebody, taken a deflection, taken a bobble, and then all of a sudden you're looking at a run like we had with, against Fulham or something like that. But it wasn't. They were all, I think, ultimately all had clear line of sight to them and all, and he made some good handling generally in this game. But it just shows the vagaries, doesn't it, of how close you can be to having a decent game as a keeper, because it was so important in that game to keep the back door shut.
Yeah, 100%, because they were clearly trying to play a very obvious way through Bueno on the counter, switched it very early from the opposite flank in midfield out to him, and they got some shots on the target. But Forest, again, I would say a game where we could argue whether Ali had a good game or not. But yeah, he only had 3 shots on target and let in one. So yeah, it's that variance was there. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah. But happily, we didn't concede on the weekend, and we did finally break it down. Sorry, going to come to you first because this was your idea. I put it to you that Nottingham Forest are the most defensive team in the Premier League. Nuno Espirito Santo is the most defensive manager in the Premier League. Makes for a very interesting dynamic when you play him. Thomas Frank maybe not quite as he's a bit more pragmatic, I'd suggest, in more horses for courses approach, trying to win a game. But ultimately, both teams playing in quite similar ways, both opponents.
Yeah, I would say so. Quickly to touch on what the point that Bart's asked about Forest's 51 touches, about our 51 touches against Forest. That's the 8th in away games in the Premier League for us. And ironically, Brentford is the highest we've ever had in the league in away games. But that still only puts us 8th total. Like City at one point had 85 against Derbysh. Everton beat us. Get this. Everton beat us in 2012. Everton had 67 touches in the box game.
Jeez.
Imagine that. And now
Everton had 67 against us.
No. Just in Premier League games. So, yeah, in away games in the Premier League.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
I guess I'll say. So
I think it'll all be crosses, right? No, seriously, it's David Moyes. Moyes has the record for most crosses with Manchester United.
Yeah, but you've got to get on the end of them to get.
Touch it a bung, aren't you?
Yeah.
Crazy.
No.
Sorry, to go back to your actual question, Darth. I think Forest are the biggest shithouses in the league, and
Full disclosure, you are a Derby fan.
I'm not a Derby fan.
Well, okay, so you're involved with Derby, okay.
But I do live in Derby.
Yes.
And
there is hatred. There is a hatred for our international listeners. There is a big hatred between Derby and Nottingham Forest. Yes.
Oh, but it's got nothing to do with that. I just get called murderer every couple of weeks.
I think you're the Derby manager still. I don't know.
It's definitely you're a Liverpool fan. Fucking murderer.
Oh, right. Got you.
That's what I hear. It's just I'm close to Nottingham.
This episode is brought to you by Amazon. Sometimes the most painful part of getting sick is the getting better part. Waiting on hold for an appointment, sitting in crowded waiting rooms, standing in line at the pharmacy. That's painful. Amazon One Medical and Amazon Pharmacy remove those painful parts of getting better with things like 24/7 virtual visits and prescriptions delivered to your door. Thanks to Amazon Pharmacy and Amazon One Medical, healthcare just got less painful.
You know what's smart? Enjoying a fresh gourmet meal at home that you didn't have to cook. Meet Factor, your loophole in the laws of mealtime. Chef-crafted meals delivered with a tap, ready in just 2 minutes. You know what's even smarter? Treating yourself without cheating your goals. Factor is dietitian approved, chef prepared, and you plated. Pretty smart, huh? Refresh your routine and eat smart with Factor. Learn more at factormeals.com.
When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Kroger for thousands of appetizing ingredients that inspire countless mouthwatering meals. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices. Plus, extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week and up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with points. So you can get big flavors and big savings. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
I don't need a VPN. I've got nothing to hide. This is what I used to tell myself before I hooked up with LibertyShield.com. Not only is my home internet now fully encrypted, but I can now access all the websites I want, whenever I want, and do so from absolutely anywhere. As a Liverpool fan, I love to know I can now watch every match, regardless of whether it's on UK TV or not. My Liberty Shield VPN makes sure nothing is blocked and guarantees me super fast streaming speed throughout that match. You can get connected right now with their software package, which includes a 48-hour no-obligation free trial and instant access to their apps for Apple, Android, Fire TV, PC, Mac, and Android TV. Or go a step further like I have and get one of their pre-configured VPN routers. These small but powerful devices allow you to easily connect every device in your home to VPN, making it the perfect solution for smart TVs, Mac boxes, and games consoles. Visit libertyshield.com today and use coupon code AIVPN25 to get 25% off at checkout.
But so they are the biggest shithouses in the league for sure. They take the most time out of games. They're the rollingest, cheatingest, scummiest. But they will do anything to get an advantage in the game, which I call pragmatic. And I don't think Frank is that guy. Frank has a game model of which he still likes to make the opposition uncomfortable in their game model. And all Nuno is doing is holding on for dear life, making it as hard as possible for the opposition to impose their model on him. He is not trying to impose his on them. And Frank does try to push those buttons. Yeah. Like, they pressed us much more than Forest was. Yeah. Which I find their style of football, I enjoy watching it. He creates basketball games. And he's got big, strong, fast lads. And he basically goes, go on then, let's have a battle. And it's a little bit, it's like a really technical 80s game.
Speaking of basketball, you gave us some interesting news about our sprints in the Brentford game.
Oh, yeah. We topped the sprints this season with 204, I think. 204, 205. I can't remember what else. Yeah.
That's incredible, really, when you think about it. But it's exactly what you've said. If you create a basketball game, the lads are then, it breaks down. They're busting their gut then to get back to stop the Brentford counter-attack, yeah?
141 against Forest and 204 against Brentford.
But that's the most of any game we've played this season.
Yeah, 169 is it dropped to our average, was just below 170 because of the Forest game, and now it'll gone back up again above 170.
Okay. Wow.
That's a big effort all round, and we use 5 subs again, which, please, more of that.
Yep.
At some point, it has to stumble upon it being. There was lots of talk after the game, wasn't there, about the value of this squad. It feels almost like Liverpool fans have, despite the obsession at this time of year with transfers, they have more faith in the lads we have, because it's the same lads. We've seen these before. We've seen them. We've literally seen them have 50 points at 22 games.
Yeah.
These very lads have been in this exact situation, and we play, as you're pointing out, we play much closer to the tactics of Klopp than we thought we did, maybe. So maybe there is greater value in trusting the lads that are on the bench than he has done in the past, and thankfully, it worked out in the second game.
Yeah. Hamzah, in his post-match, Slot was at pains to point out that the way all opponents in the last month or so have been playing is completely differently to the start of the season. It's maybe not just these two teams, even though they are quite, as Sai has just outlined. And there's you've got some very interesting numbers on this about maybe that backs that up, but also just want to have your general thoughts on the way both these teams have set up against us, the way we've gone to counter that and try to impose our way of playing on them.
So I'll start with that stat. So I'll start with what Slop said. Essentially, we are seeing teams play in a low block more and more. You'd expect that, right? This is the team with the best XG difference in the league, the best XG, third best XG difference in Europe, the only team in the Premier League with an XG difference of +1. You really don't want to be engaged in the transitional game. You don't want to be attacking this team because you'll leave spacing behind for Salah, Szoboszlai, Diaz, Gakpo, etc. Right? The natural thing to do is try to hunker down, do something like what Nottingham Forest did. And Forest, their setup sort of classic 4-5-1, but what they did differently to most other teams is they said, okay, we're not going to press. And that would cause a few problems for Liverpool because Liverpool want to bait the press to open up the space and then playing behind. Brentford were a little bit different. They have a 5-3-2 shape. They were in a mid block and they were seeking high pressure moments. So when the ball, when there was a trigger, they'd jump out. When there's like a deep throw in or whatever, then they'd push up. Otherwise they'd drop. And they also used they doubled up out wide on Salah, for example. But often whether the player would jump, you'd see before the left midfielder went over to double up on Salah, you'd check his shoulder to see where Alexander-Arnold was, because again in the past few matches, Spurs match slightly different because he came on as a sub and Liverpool were trailing late on. But in the past two matches at least, we've seen him get forward a lot more. These teams are playing a lot deeper, and that's also reflected in that stat that you mentioned, which is the opposition start distance. The start distance is a distance from goal where teams begin their possession sequences, and it's really, really deep. If you look at the league average, Liverpool's opponents have the third deepest start distance in the league, which is 39.11 metres. Man City have the deepest. 36 opponents of Manchester City have the deepest, then Arsenal. But what's really interesting, actually, is in the past few matches, you've had 4 of the 5 lowest, since November, that is. You've had 4 of the 5 deepest, opposition start distances. So these teams are being penned in. We're pushing them back. Brentford was actually, theirs was 28, I think, which is actually 10 metres deeper than the average against us. So teams are playing in a different way. This poses different questions to us. We've encountered this before. Most top teams encountered this as well. You've got to break down the low block. It's quite difficult. It needs patience. It needs technical skill. It needs smart set pieces. I actually thought the set pieces in the Brentford match, in the first half at least, weren't too bad. We tried a couple of outswingers first. We had a shot from a Van Dijk one, an outswinger, a shot from, well, not sure if it was a shot from Kennett initially. He won the header, and Salah, if you watch Salah at the back post as the cross comes in from the left, he's looking to see if Kennett makes the header, which makes me think he's actually looking for the flick on at the back post. As it so happens, Kennett's header loops, and then Salah tries to get it back into play. The second header, I think Van Dijk heads over, and the third, we then change up from outswingers to in-swingers. The other way around. With the in-swinger, Van Dijk had his shot and he missed. So in those moments, I thought there was a bit more reason to be hopeful. But also the underlying stats across these matches, especially in the last 20 minutes against Forest, and then across the match against Brentford, you're looking at the sort of methodology that seems to be the right one if you're going to break it down low blocks. So if you're going to play in low blocks, you're going to expect to face 2.53 XG, in which case we'd favour ourselves, I think.
And just the matches in the specific games, Hamzah. You mentioned 4 fixtures, obviously the current 2. What are the other 2 for the listeners?
Just give me a second, sorry. I was just finishing my tea. The other 2 are... Oh, sorry. Fulham. So we had Leicester, which was 27.4, which is the deepest. Then Brentford, Southampton, but that was that was 24th November. Then Fulham, 34.8, and then Forest 34.9. So since late November, where we've seen this sort of change in approach from a more attacking one. Whether it's a bit hard at the moment to detach that from the defensive difficulties, which might come from injuries, which might come from fatigue, which might just come from mistakes. So we still need a little bit of time to work out what exactly is going on here. But I think we've started to see us playing a more offensive manner since then. And coinciding with that is opponents being forced to play deeper.
Yeah, well, I mean, the Leicester one being the deepest, that backs up exactly what we said on this pod about Leicester just being absurd, really. They were so round their box, and with the distances, they just couldn't threaten us at all. It was the easiest game we'll play all season. It was just like, they were literally just hanging on for grim death, really. But and it's worth noting as well that both Forest games, the return Forest fixture is also in the bottom 7. So both Forest fixtures in the bottom 7 in terms of deepest defences.
Just very quick, because I mentioned shithousery. I think it's actually that's it. In all seriousness, there's a weird thing with Liverpool actually. So I'll start with Forest. So these stats are just from before the FA Cup break. So just before our match with them. When they're winning, they actually rank 19th for ball in play, the share of time that the ball's in play. So they're great at killing the game when they're ahead. When it scores a level, they're 17th, and when they're losing, they're 6th. So they actually are able to swing the game depending on whether they're losing or winning. They can get the ball rolling. Liverpool are one of the weird teams, actually, that when they're winning, the ball is in play more, which might sound like a positive, but generally teams that are winning try and kill the game and slow it down where possible. I understand that we might like to keep the game flowing. The other team that does that, there's a few other teams that do that. United, not very good. Wolves, not very good. And Tottenham, not very good either. So it's a curious thing that we do there. But we also, I mentioned that swing earlier. So when we are winning, we have the third highest ball in play share, but when we're losing, we're 17th. So there's lots of time that's wasted. That means that either we aren't good at getting the ball into play, or more likely we're suffering from opponents' time wasting. So I think we're a little bit sort of we're getting played a bit there. The only team that has a greater swing between ball in play when they're winning and they're losing is Tottenham. So yeah, we're not doing quite well in terms of trying to get the ball in play. Overall, we rank 5th, but here's the key thing, right? So when we're winning, we're 3rd. When we're level pegging, we're 9th. That's pretty normal. Most teams usually want to keep the ball in play when scores are level. If there's a big difference between the quality of the teams, that might change. But when we're losing, we're 17th. So yeah, a bit of a weird one there that we need to sort of work on. We're trying to, or as in, we need to make sure that opponents don't waste time. That's in their gift, of course, but we need to do what we can because they do it a lot.
Yes, I think there's a lot of people would be saying our opponents are allowed to waste time against us too often. But one common theme across both these matches was the way we played for the first hour with the false nine, with Luis Diaz in the central roles. What did you think about us in both these games, until we changed it, and general observations about the two games in the same way as the other guys have done?
I think if you look at the pass maps, I think there's early season you'd see the two wingers attacking through the wingers, and then you'd see the 9 dropping in to play next to our 10, should we say, or Dom. That's been a bit of an issue in recent games, and I don't think either pass map up to first subs gives you any indication that that's been resolved much. I think Diaz is largely not level with Dom, if you like, in both games really. In the pass map data, it changes significantly when we bring the subs on. The problem with both these games where we got a high amount of possession, particularly Brentford, is you get a very defined structure, but it does become a bit. Forest was slightly better, but Brentford is a bit just sort of a U, if you like. We got a massive band of block, but they're still not the player that we'd normally seen early season, where it was Jota starting in that sort of just in the zone 14 next to Dom. So would be an area we still need to improve upon, and one of which I'm not a big fan of Diaz playing there. There was several rotations first half against Brentford. Trent, Van Dijk, Kennett were all punching the ball through midfield to find Diaz at feet in the first sort of half an hour. Whether that was effective, he wasn't able to then get a turn and play it, but they would try and get him in that area, but it wasn't showing up that much. Things to note in terms of passing analysis for both these games. For United, and I can't remember the game before that, I forgot it. Last 2 league games anyway. Use of the half space, West Ham, use of the half space in zone 14 had remarkably dropped off from previous seasons, previous games. These 2 games, you'll see the Forest game, we started to use it a lot more. That might be due to defensive height, as Hamzah said, so they're dropping off more, which allows us to play in that area a bit more. But certainly in Brentford's zone 14 and half space block, we are extremely dominant in all three areas. So yes, it's always a little bit more right dominant because of mode, but we are in zone 14 from about an hour onwards, all the way through till 90 and straight after half time. And I think at one point, if you look at some of the Steelers, we had 4 players in zone 14 trying to play. Yes, we were trying to be intricate. And we always say when you play a deep block, you either stretch them or you've got to overload them in the middle and try and be really intricate. And we were trying various ways to do that. But we had 4 players in that zone 14, which was better than Forest. Forest, we did try and improve that area, which we hadn't done previously, but it still didn't get us a lot of output as a result. And just to pick on our Hamzah point about one of the things I noted when we're in the lead is our length of passing chain increases to nearly 10 to 15, which would eat up time, right? So that would go along with us having more on ball time when you're winning, where the other teams try and give it away, yeah? So we generally seem to adopt a higher amount of time to keep possession when we're in the front. You won't see these two games because they're not front much, but yeah, generally our ratios of how long we try and keep a passing chain increases as we get towards a winning. Garbage time, we definitely try and keep it for 15 plus if we can. So yeah, but I just thought it was, in terms of long balls, not a great, patterns are starting to come back to when we were better, a bit more variety. Certainly in the Brentford game, we were switching out from right to left better. Which was good to see, rather than just being dominant, forcing it down the right, which was what the Forest game was about. Yeah, and I think it's genuinely the patterns in the Brentford game were built on very similar to what Forest, but they are starting to return to what we were seeing early season, even if we are just slightly tweaking our play a little bit. But yeah, just what it was coming up from the past analysis in the visit of.
Nice one, Bart. So just to finish off on the Diaz stuff, obviously there's big changes in both games after the subs were made. Where do you think that leaves us now with the false 9 system? And where do you think, in the utility of it, when do you think it maybe could be deployed again?
Hey guys, it's Eddie Gibbs from Anfield Index here. I hope you're enjoying this podcast, and I'm sorry to call time on the show before it ends. In the current climate, it's tougher than ever before to offer podcasts for free. At Anfield Index, we produce over 75 free shows every month, which I'm confident is unparalleled in the LFC sphere. Whilst we'd love to offer everything for free, the production costs now make this impossible. That said, we don't want to follow the model of other channels and lock all of our content behind a paywall. So what we've decided to do is to continue offering every show for free, but cut that offering to 30 minutes on our longer shows. So to get all of our shows in full and enjoy the best of everything we have to offer, we really hope you'll consider supporting the channel and signing up at AnfieldIndexPro.com. For about the price of 1 cup of coffee, you'll get every podcast in full with 0 ads. You'll also get access to our LFC VIP community, where you can enjoy live podcasts, engage with our podcasters, and chat with other Reds in real time. So that website again, AnfieldIndexPro.com. Join today.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
These are violent criminals, so they're not going to go down easy.
ABC Tuesdays.
Let's get this done.
The Rookie is back.
We have 2 new rookies starting today.
Howdy.
Being a cop is stressful 24/7. Every year on the job is different.
And training day.
We have a serial killer at large.
Never ends.
We need an ambulance!
The Rookie. All new Tuesdays on ABC and stream on Hulu.
If you're a facilities manager at a university, you know students rely on the cafeteria for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and the occasional late-night snack. So when a dishwasher breaks down and dirty plates pile up, the mess hall can turn messy in the blink of an eye. Enter Grainger. With over 1 million industrial-grade products and fast delivery, the product you need now is never far away. So you can turn that dishwasher back into a lean, clean washing machine. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.